What is going on, everybody? Got another episode here. Sorry we're a little bit late. Typically, we do these at 3 p.m. EST every single Sunday. This week, I had something I had to take care of, so we pushed it back till 5. Is what it is. But hopefully, everybody still gets the value out of it. So, anyways, Joel, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, Huds. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Good.
And I'm happy. I'm happy to have another talk here, man. This is an important topic to think about. Does she deserve a ring? And I think that's something that gets brought up a lot because we're helping we're helping men go out there and date more, but are they dating the right type of woman? And that's really the question that we have to be asking because there's plenty of people out there that you can date, but it may not go anywhere. And there's certain things that you can look at to tell, okay, does this make sense for me to continue the relationship? And you had sent me a list of some things that I thought was interesting, and it kind of aligned with some of the things that I was thinking about as well. Do you want to lead us off with one of those?
Yeah, and before we dive into the list, I want to just say this topic idea came from one of my coaching clients. He's been through the ringer, pun intended, and lost a lot of money, married the wrong woman, and now he's paying the consequences. And he's in his 50s, so learning this stuff young, guys, is super key, so you don't have to spend the later half of your life obsessing over this, worrying about it, having to face the ramifications. So from there, so shout out to that guy if you're watching this. The first thing, we talked about is, this might be a little controversial, can she cook and clean? And how it's
Now,
all
what I want to say on that one, I want to focus on the cooking aspect. So that's something that in my relationship right now, I'm a cook. I love cooking, and I think I'm pretty good at it. When we first started dating, there were a lot of meals that she did not know how to cook. And I think what's so important about this is not so much, okay, can she cook, but is she willing to, if that's something you're looking for in your relationship? So is she willing to learn? Does she care to learn? Does she want to fill that role if you're looking for that role? In the same way that is she, let's say there's housework that needs to be done. Is she expecting me to be able to do that? Or am I just completely incapable? Am I going to want to try? And I think that's very important to have those. It doesn't matter whether you have the skill, but are you willing to learn the skill if it's important to the other person in that relationship?
Yes, definitely. And that's going to be a theme we touch on today is, some things might not be a skill that the person has, but are they willing to be open to learning about it? I think that's really important. With cooking too, like, I think it just says something if, and this goes for guys or girls, so not just like, oh, if only she can do it, right? If you're able to cook, it means that you have the ability to take care of yourself, to make sure you're eating properly, right? It says that you're not just ordering fast food and Uber Eats every night. Now, one might be like, okay, what's wrong with that? And there's nothing wrong about it. This isn't like a right, wrong thing. What I like to think about in this is, though, 60 years down the line, like, I don't want her dropping off at 75. And then I'm this 80-year-old that's just like, well, shit, I want my girl to be living with me until a very, very late age, right? So knowing that she can cook is, to me, a little bit of a green flag that, oh, she knows how to take care of herself.
No, I like that. That's huge. I've seen you've posted some videos and some reels and different things like that showing you cooking in a healthy manner and cooking with other people. And I think that's fantastic. Definitely something to pay attention to. And then it also plays into the whole cleaning thing. If she knows how to take care of those types of things, it shows that she takes care of herself. She takes care of her environment. And it leads exactly into the next thing we're going to talk about. So, D'Angelo, I really appreciate you saying that. Cooking and cleaning is a must, not only for the man in my eyes, but also for the kids in the future. Plays into the nurturing aspect of it, and that's 100%. And that was the next thing that we're going to talk about. Is she good with kids? And I think that is it's interesting. It's funny. I was just at lunch, and we had some friends visiting, and they had their 3-year-old with us, and the 3-year-old was rambunctious, as children tend to be, especially at that age. And my girlfriend was playing around with them and doing little like science experiments, as they were calling it, playing with like the napkins and the water and like different things like that, like the tactile aspect of it. And it became a point where this child was sitting next to me, then moved to the other side of the table, and then ended up on my girlfriend's lap for the rest of the time because of that just natural ability that she has to connect with a child. Seeing things like that, like how is she responding when it comes to children? Is she excited? Is she engaged? Or is it more, oh, kids? I'm not looking forward to that period of my life.
You're gonna be a good dad, man. I could tell the way you lit up when you're talking about that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's fun. It's exciting.
100%. And like, you know, if your girl doesn't want kids and like, you know, that going into it, I think that's totally okay. Like a lot of people don't want kids these days, but you've heard of the baby rabies. At some point, a lot of women do end up wanting kids, even if they said when they were younger they don't want it. So just being able to have that nurturing relationship with kids, yes, is very important. And it's a good telltale sign too, that when shit goes maybe wrong for yourself, maybe you get sick, that she's going to be there to nurture you. Not obviously like be your mommy, but she'll be able to take care of you to a degree. Maybe she'll be able to cook for you, going back to number one, and make you a nice meal when you're not feeling 100%, right? So that's just a good sign that she's like a nurturing, giving, loving, caring person. So I think that's a great tip.
100%. And I think that goes both ways. Like you see that even if you're like a woman listening to it, like how is your man treating the relationship? Is he willing to give as well? Or is he only a taker? I think that everybody is naturally a giver and a taker. In my relationship, we're both givers, which has its own set of problems. But when you have a strong give take and the taker is taking more than the other is giving, you're going to run into problems. And so it's just something to pay attention to.
Yeah, 100%. Going back to like the whole traditional value role too, kind of wanted to touch a bit on this from the first point. Like, I know like there's like a lot of modernism going on right now, so people don't exactly want that traditional relationship. It's something I still value personally. So going back to the cooking, it's just I'll be honest, it's nice to come home and have a nice cooked meal. Like it feels really good, especially if I've worked really hard, and that kind of goes into the give take, right? Like I'm giving my time for a career, for work, and she gives her time to make sure that we're fed. Very just giving. With the kids too, yeah, like. Dude, like I'm good with kids, man. I don't know about you, but there's a telltale sign if you catch a baby looking at you, it's a sign that that you got a good energy about you.
Mhm.
Babies are the purest. So I definitely look for a girl that is good with kids too, for all the reasons we mentioned above. But let's move on because I think I could ramble on this one for a while. So let's
No problem.
let's move
I'm
forward.
gonna I'm gonna actually jump a little bit here from the list that we had discussed. A good relationship with the family.
Mm.
So I think that that's incredibly important to have that type of relationship with your family on both ends, whether you're a guy or a gal, because it shows that I'm trying to think about how to like phrase this appropriately. Um, I don't know. Do you want to speak on it first while I formulate my thoughts?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of videos out there that talk about this and the importance of your partner or girlfriend or whatever having a good relationship because essentially what a lot of human beings do, we'll use women specific, they will choose guys that remind them of their dad. That's kind of like one thing they like to do, and they'll also treat the guy they're with like they treat their dad. So if they have a shitty relationship with their dad, they're going to behave the same way they do with their dad, most likely with you. Maybe there are the select few. I mean, I'm sure there are that are spiritually aware enough to see through that and do the opposite. But most, let's be honest, most people aren't. So I was dating this girl. We went out, and she was, the first thing I asked her was like, "Oh yeah, you close with your family?" And she's like, "No, I kind of hate my dad." And she was very disagreeable. She wasn't very like sweet. She was kind of, angry. She was a glass half empty kind of girl. And I even call her, I'm like, you're a real glass half empty kind of girl, like more as a joke, but it was kind of like a tell too. Like, So yeah, it's just something that. What's up, Ray J? So it is something to keep an eye out for, if they have a good relationship. And then again, coming full circle, if you do have a family with them and they haven't been taught how to have a loving relationship from their childhood, there's a strong chance that it's going to be very difficult to create that with her and your kids.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely agree with you. It's interesting you say that because it's also similar with guys. Depending on your relationship with your mother, that could be how, they do say like with the Oedipus complex, you end up picking somebody who's similar to your mom, but you're treating them the same way that you would treat your mother. And so I think that having that strong family bond is very important, because it shows like, if you talk highly about your family, then that says a lot about what your future family structure is going to be like with this person.
Right. 100%. 100%. And guys, maybe if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like, well, shit, my family relationship isn't that great. Well, I'll tell you, there's ways to heal those wounds. I promise you. I've had to do a lot of healing on that myself and kind of doing a lot of forgiveness work. Went through a bunch of recovery groups on dealing with relationships. So if you are interested in learning more about that, you can hit me up here for a consult and we can kind of talk about that and give you some like free resources where you can go out and start working on that. Because yeah, it's something a lot of folks did not learn, is to have a healthy relationship. And um,
Mhm.
you can look at it as it's sad and it's unfortunate, but what's great now is with the internet, there's so many resources out there to to improve that, to have those healthy relationships. And because of all the work I did, like, I mean, you're looking at two guys now that our relationship in terms of business is very healthy. It's very strong. There's not drama. It's just like, I never would have had that if I hadn't gone through that work. So little side note on that there. Huds, back to you and moving forward here with the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
one.
absolutely. And the last thing I'm going to say on that is, addiction comes in many forms. One of the things that you and I have both worked through is codependency. And a lot of times when you have a tumultuous relationship with your family, it can come from codependency. So just being aware of it and trying to resolve that, it's crazy some of the things that you can do to change your life. But
Right.
let's go ahead and jump into the next one. So, open to communication and the difficult conversations.
Ooh, bum bum bum.
Yeah, I love this one, man, because this is hard.
Mhm.
Sometimes whether it comes down to, money, or if your partner's doing something that is, seriously internally hurting you, or things are not progressing in the way that kind of makes sense. I think that's a huge thing to pay attention to. If you bring something up and they get defensive and shut down, that's a big important thing to pay attention to. You should be able to have the conversations that suck without having the experience of having the conversation suck as well.
Mm, mm. I like the way you put that. Yeah. It doesn't have to become an ordeal or something on TNC. It can be just a simple adult conversation. This kind of goes
Mhm.
back to what we were talking about in the last point too. Like, when a girl comes from a healthy relationship, she's observed her parents having difficult conversations and resolving it in a harmonious, peaceful way, instead of where we see a lot of families, unfortunately, where there's yelling, there's screaming, there's, fights, there's alcohol everywhere or something. Like, I mean, a million scenarios, right? So yeah, I think that's a really important point. Like, communication is so huge, guys. And I mean, Hudson and I have had to have some difficult conversations about this YouTube channel, about stuff we're working on. And yeah, it's never pleasant in the moment because it usually comes after like some success and then we have to readjust. And yeah, there's times where I have to put my ego aside and be like, okay, like, don't look at this from your emotions. Look at this from logic and from his perspective, right? So being able to be open to seeing the other person's perspective is really key, because you might not agree with it, but in understanding that this is where they're coming from, you're much less likely to be reactive and defensive. So you're like, oh,
Mhm.
this isn't personal. This is just something that he sees from his perspective or she sees from her perspective. And how can I be open to hearing it and talking through it instead of just reacting and getting angry or defensive or anything like that? So
Right, absolutely. And I think that that's huge. Like, if I don't like the way that Joel puts the dishes away in this domestic partnership that we have, I should be able to tell him, and then he can potentially change the way he's doing it without getting defensive.
Dude, guys, Huds never does the laundry. It pisses me off, but
Dude, I haven't done laundry in 3 years. Ever since I
yeah,
started dating my girl, it's fantastic.
you actually have it.
I know
But
how to. I know how to do a lot of things, but yeah, that's a good relationship.
yeah,
No, but seriously, yeah, I think the communication's key because sometimes there are difficult conversations that need to be had. We just had one this past weekend with another situation that I shared with you privately that I won't dive into. But those types of issues pop up, and she will tell me that I need to act a different way towards it, and I can either get defensive or I can hear her perspective and actually try and think about it. And so that's a very important thing to understand. Like, if you're going to put a ring on it, is she able to have those types of conversations when those conversations need to be had? Or does she get reactive and shut down?
mhm. And guys, too, there is a way to have those conversations skillfully. That's something that I've learned through the recovery groups. Huds has learned as well. So a big tip here I'll give you guys, and this kind of goes against what this tip is going to be, but this is a show on advice, so we're just going to roll with it. When you think someone is doing something that you don't agree with, and you think there's a better solution, ask them, "Are you open for feedback on this?" It will be a huge change because the worst thing is when someone just says, "Hey, you know what, man? You should do it like this." It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I didn't ask you. And that's usually when a lot of defensiveness comes up. Even if they're right, the way they can put it can sometimes just be like, dude, fuck off. So in saying it like as like, hey man, like, and being open too. If they're like, hey man, I don't want any feedback on it, be like, okay, that's totally cool. I just if you do want some feedback on it, I'm here and I'm open to help you. That's been a huge tip for myself.
That's actually really, really huge because that plays into what I had shared with you, that if the approach was done a little bit differently, it wouldn't have escalated, but instead it
Mhm.
escalated. And so I think that's huge to like, hey, like I'm feeling a certain way about this. Are you open for feedback? And then depending on how they respond, yes or no, doors open or it's closed. And sometimes at specific times, and just you being patient with them, then they will open that door for you, like maybe the next day or a couple days later.
Yeah, totally,
It's
totally.
all about it's all about timing and making people feel comfortable.
Yes. Yes, because as guys, we just want to fix things. We're problem solvers. So this is a great tip too for you if you have a girl out there or you're dating or whatever, and she's like she gets in that mode where she's just kind of, venting. A lot of guys, what they do is they're like, they just start coming up with solutions, and then that pisses the girl off more because all they want is to be heard. So in those situations, if you do find that you have a really good solution, it's great to just say, yeah, hey, would you be open to feedback or would you like me to just listen? Oftentimes they will just say, "Oh, I just want you to listen," cozy up on your shoulder, and they'll just be happy that you were giving space for them. They don't even need an answer, even if you know, even if you know the answer. It can save some. It can bring you guys closer by just learning to chill back, and that's in a sense the feminine energy. Hudson and I were talking about this the other day that a lot of girls when they get together and have their girl talk, they just listen to each other. They don't even talk. They just sit with each other in each other's presence because they know that what they're going through is being received by other feminine energy. So if you ever hang out with girls and sometimes they're just like, not really doing anything, you're just like, this isn't a productive conversation. It's because they're getting their fix by just being in each other's presence and in their feminine energy. Right.
Absolutely. No, that's huge. And dude, I can't tell you how many times where, I may be stressed out with other things and then I'm getting a bunch of stuff dumped on me by my girl. And then I go into problem solving mode because I'm already in problem solving mode. And it just creates a conversation where it's like I could have just nodded my head and just listened. And instead it becomes not a 5-10 minute conversation. It becomes an hour long then argument as I'm trying to solve a problem that she's not looking for a solution to.
Boom, boom, right there, guys. Prime example. Yeah, and because I mean, as guys, when we get together, we're shooting the shit. We're trying to come up with things. We're trying to advance in our careers or whatever it may be in our life. Women are very different, and in understanding that, it's going to really help when you are in a relationship, because you can know how to operate. Because I mean, I made that mistake for a long time. I would always try to come up with solutions, and um, it's just like, yeah, chicks don't want that sometimes unless they ask. So
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And then also on top of that, I mean, kind of feeding off what we're talking about, making sure that she has a good support network or friend group outside of just the relationship. This is something that I see happen a lot where people get into relationships and then they disappear. They stop hanging out with their friends. It's
mm,
only them and either the guy and the girl, or the girl stops hanging out with her friends too. And that is, I think it's severely unhealthy because you should have your own support group and your own network and other hobbies and activities and interests and things that you do. Because if you don't, then your entire life revolves around the other person. And it doesn't matter how much you love and care about the other person, you're always inevitably going to get sick of them at one point or another. And if you're frustrated with something that she's doing and you don't have somebody you can just jump to talk to, you're going to get frustrated, and vice versa. It's the same thing.
man, that's such a big one. That's such a big one, man. And we've been actually, Hudson and I have been talking about this over the last couple of weeks, just kind of in our passing conversations of how important this is. I have mentors for everything in my life, business, relationships, and the reason I do is because then I don't burden one person with all my issues. It's okay to
Mm,
have guys you go to kind of vent and talk about shit, cool word in the space, but it's true, you got to be open, or else it's going to come out in erotic, passive aggressive ways with the people you do care about. So, and because of that, like for example, when Hudson and I get together, we can have a very focused, productive conversation on the task at hand. You're teaching me that as well. So I, again, it's teaching me as well. I have to go out and use my resources, but having that extra support is just gonna it's just going to free you up so much. So it's something I really recommend. I think we both do is getting out there, meeting guys that you can build that network with, where it's not just homies, it's people that can be your guide, can be your mentor. Because as smart as
mhm.
we may be, we don't know all the answers. And so, yeah,
And we
anything.
don't have time for all the answers. I mean, that's the thing, is like I've seen it time and time again with relationships where you get pigeonholed into just your partner, and that partner may be completely overwhelmed with everything that you're dumping on them, and they could be dealing with work, side businesses, certain situations that are going on with friends, and then you're expecting them to be your full rock, but they don't have the capacity to give you everything you're looking for. And so that's why it's so important to spread it out between a network.
Yes, 100%. I mean, there's been times, we'll be honest, like I've come to you, Huds, with like a problem, and it takes away from the point we originally like had the call for. So it's
Mhm.
taught me that, okay, maybe that is something to save and talk to one of my mentors, the relationship mentor. That takes patience too, because in that moment I want to get it out. I want to, you know, get it out of my system. But sometimes, being masculine is learning how to sit with that discomfort for a prolonged period, even if it
Mm.
sucks. And it's only going to make the relationships, friendships stronger too. Because I mean, you guys have probably all been on the flip end where a friend is like the vent friend. Whenever you hang out with them, it's just this problem, that problem. And you're like, bro, like, dude, can we just like chill? And then by the time you're done hanging out, you're like, thank God I don't have to hang out with this person anymore. Right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be that friend. Don't be that friend.
No, that's huge. That's huge. I love that one. I think that's one of the most important things to have, because what a relationship is two whole people coming together.
Hmm.
It's not two half people into one relationship. It is two whole people coming together. And if that person is not whole and is relying on you to make them whole, that is not a healthy relationship.
Yes, yes, for sure. For sure. Unless it's in the context of like some sort of coaching or therapy or something, then I think that's okay, right? That's what those services are for. But again, going back to what you just said, that's what those services and those relationships are for. When it
Mhm.
comes to dating and stuff like that, 100% HUDs, you want to have those two holes becoming a super hole, like
Right, right.
a hole.
Yeah, and the coaching is a little bit different. Yeah, the coaching is a little bit different because you're coming to somebody for that, but you're also, it's set amount of time that you're working with somebody. It's not all the time,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you're dating somebody and living with them, and you are 100, like you have to make them whole, and they're seeking you to make them whole. Yeah, it doesn't end well. Yeah, I've been in one of those relationships before,
Ooh.
stupidly, but that's part of the reason why I've learned what I've been able to learn and why I've been able to help people based on my experience. Cool. Now let's go into addiction. You go ahead and talk about this one.
So I've never had an addiction. No, I'm just kidding. I, I've had more addictions than I ever thought I would. Yeah. So this point is dating a girl that does not have addictions, and if she does, she's working on them. I don't know if you've been in a relationship with someone with addiction, or maybe you haven't. It's a very selfish uh, experience, right? Whoever has the addiction, everything becomes about that person. I'm saying this from experience, guys. It's not to shame, it's to just kind of say the truth. Addiction is very selfish. It's what can I get? Giving is a very difficult thing for people with active addiction. So if they are in active addiction and not working on it, it's going to be very difficult for them to come through with all the points we talked about today, right? Communication, showing up, being of service to the relationship, probably being good with kids, because they're always going to put their needs first, and not in a good way, not like in a, oh, I need a self-care day, so I'm gonna go to the gym, like yo, I need to go on this bender, and I know my family's counting on me to cook, but I have to have this bender, right? So being with somebody that has that stuff sorted out is really just gonna create a long-term fulfilling lasting relationship, or at least give that opportunity. The less drama too. I mean, as you know, if you know anyone that's in an addiction, they probably have a lot of drama in their life. So it's just something to keep in mind. Hud's, any thoughts on that on your end?
Yeah, no, 100%. It is a very selfish thing, and it can be a very frustrating thing. It's always them coming first. And at least the realization of it. There's certain things like, so I'm trying to think of something here. We can even say this. Okay, this is a vape. I consume nicotine. Do I consume nicotine in a way that affects our relationship? Do I have to step out of the restaurant every single 5 minutes to go rip this? Or can we actually spend quality time together and I can put it aside for us to spend that quality time together? That I think is incredibly important to pay attention to. That's just one small example. There's many examples of it. And so I think being able to understand like where somebody's at and how they handle it, whether it's a true addiction or it's like, a managed vice. I think there's a difference there, addiction versus managed vice. And
Yes.
so I think that's very important to pay attention to because I've dated girls that were like addicted to cigarettes, and yeah, those relationships didn't last long because it wasn't like I'm going to have cigarettes when I'm out drinking. It was, I need a cigarette like every 5 minutes or else I'm going to become a cranky bitch.
Oh.
And yeah, that's just not a fun situation to be in because yes, it is selfish. It's me, 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 not able to one, control themselves, but then two, also be able to foster the type of relationship that you're giving. And that's one of the issues that I have is because I'm more of a giver than a taker.
Mhm.
And so by wanting to give to people, I give them too many chances. It's
Mhm.
just the truth. But it's because I care.
Mhm.
And so it's just something to pay attention to. And I like how you say they don't have an addiction, or at least they are working on it. Because for some people, I know it's incredibly difficult to cut back or completely quit a vice. And I wouldn't want somebody to give up on me if I was having a lot of trouble. So I don't want to give up on somebody else. So as long as they're on the right path, and again, that comes back to the open to communication and difficult conversations. If I have concerns about what I may perceive as an addiction, can we have the conversation? I could be wrong. I could be judgmental. I don't know, but I want to have the conversation because this is how I am feeling.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Kind of going off that, yeah. Um, if you are in a relationship with someone with a very strong and powerful active addiction, they're not going to care how you're feeling. They'll be like, "Oh, Hud's is." I didn't know Hud's had feelings. That might be their first thought, and then to actually have to like resolve it will just be like, that's a waste of time. I have my own highs to get, right? So yeah, that's a very important point. We all have vices. Let's be real. Like this isn't. We're not sitting here on our high horses saying, "Yeah, we've conquered all addiction." Like, dude, like I watched sometimes too many movies. It's one of my one of my addictions, right? And instead of working, um, I eat too much peanut butter. My,
Yeah,
it's
you were complaining. Tell me about this peanut butter addiction you seem to have developed.
bro. Okay, so I quit sugar like 3 years ago. So I'm a big foodie. And recently, like before I left for Poland, I discovered peanut butter, and peanut butter is super
Wait, what do you
fattening.
mean you discovered peanut butter?
Like I was like, I don't, bro. This is insane. I know. Like I wasn't eating peanut butter. I was like, because I was like so clean and eating so healthy, and then yeah, my mom got peanut butter, and I just decided to have a nice tub of it, and I was hooked. And then the more peanut butter I eat, and I'm not eating sweets, so like no donuts, no ice cream or anything. So like my dessert is peanut butter, and it's hard for me to go a night without having something to like get that that maybe like sweet fix, right?
Mhm.
And I know it's kind of an issue. Like, if you guys watch videos from like 2 months ago, my face is puffed up like crazy because I'm storing all this peanut butter fat.
Dude, you have a problem. We need to talk about this.
Guys, if you know any help out there, please. And yes, this is not very serious. Like I'm here with Huds. It's a vice, so it's something that I'm aware of, and I think the point about this is that when I am not on addiction or not indulging in my vices, I am way happier, which means I'm gonna make the relationship I'm in way happier. You know what it's like to hang out with someone that's depressed. You might be in the best mood, but just being with them, they're just kind of gonna bring you down. Vice versa, when you're, you run into that guy and they're full of life, you're like, you just feel better, right? So in becoming and overcoming your own addictions or vices, it's a great giving thing because it's just going to add value to the world and to those around you. So something to keep in mind too, if you're struggling with an addiction, just know that you doing the work and trying to overcome that vice is going to help all those around you.
Mm.
Mhm.
No, that's a great, great point. I really like that. Yeah, I really like that. I didn't know you had such a peanut butter problem. I actually have a jelly problem, so maybe that's why we get along.
Wow.
Wow, my
That's
dad
pretty.
jokes are on point today.
Peanut butter jelly time. It's dude, bro, look at your background. What color is it? Purple.
It's a purple.
I got the brown.
It's a peanut butter and
Peanut
jelly
butter.
sandwich right here.
Wow, dude, this is trippy.
That is funny. That is funny. What are the odds? Well, anyways, let's move
Oh,
on.
it's so good.
Let's move on to the next one. So, I like this one a lot, and it kind of goes into what you were just saying. Like when somebody's down, they kind of bring others down, and when somebody's up, they bring others up. I love the idea of they're fun and they just enjoy life. I mean, for example, this past Thursday, I think I may have sent you a picture, or you may have seen it on my story. We went to a street festival, and I got my face painted, and I became a tiger. And
Yeah.
my whole group, what we were planning to
Mhm.
do, like it was my rules, like we're going there, and we're getting our face painted, and we're gonna act like little kids. And I was the only one who followed through. And so here I am with my whole face painted as a tiger, having fun, being a little goofball. And then my buddy got just a Mike Tyson tattoo, like on the side of his face. So it's like, whatever, you could do that with a Sharpie. And then my girlfriend just got a sticker. And so there I am looking like a lunatic. And then they didn't follow through when I thought it would have been hilarious and so much fun just to like goof around as different animals walking around the street. And, it is what it is, but I brought a lot of joy to not just the group, but also to those that I met throughout the night because everybody got a kick out of it. Like, who's this random guy walking in here looking like what is this tiger guy, tiger man? And so I just that type of stuff and those type of scenarios. It's like a lot of times people, especially like if you're a friend with me and Joel, when we do hang out, you're going to see this side of me. When you hang out with me, you never know when you're gonna drop into a crazy adventure. Because I'm the type of person who just like doesn't care because I'm still a little kid at heart. I like to explore. So like even the other day we went to this place called Ralph's. It's one of the it's the oldest Italian restaurant in America.
Wow.
And we were just seated right on the first floor. And when I went to go to the bathroom, I saw that there was stairs going all the way up. And so I went not just the second floor and was looking at all the pictures and that entire separate room, but then I went all the way up to the third floor private lounge where there were nobody was at that time. But I just was talking to like the waiters and whatnot, and they let me go do whatever the heck I wanted, and I got a picture of it too, just like an absolutely like beautiful, cool place that most people they're just they come for dinner, they have their dinner, they leave, and I'm like, no, I want to see the whole place, I want to see the whole thing, and I did that like the other day too. It was like the actually it was later that night. It was the same type of thing. They built this thing out on the waterfront here, where it has a whole amphitheater with like separate um, alternative bars at the top and multiple floors. Really, really cool place. And I just say to people sometimes, like, I'm going to go explore. Do you want to come with? Most times people don't want to, but I just walk around like a kid because I love experiencing random things. And you also never know what random thing you're gonna what you are randomly gonna experience. Like even with that story I told before, where I was down in Baltimore, right in the Bay or whatever the heck they call it, and I just met some random guy on a raft, like a raft, and I was like, "Hey, can I take a ride?" And he took me into the center of the bay. Some random dude in a small little raft that it's literally only me and him that can fit on. And I just went on an experience, whatever. And it was the coolest thing in the world being in the center there where it's so dark and you can see all the lights around you of the entire bay. It was absolutely amazing. And it's just because of that childlike wonder about having fun and understanding that yeah, bad things can always happen, but bad things can happen whether you go on an experience or you don't. So you might as well live as much as you can. And so I think it's really important to find somebody who, at the very least, lets you do your thing and doesn't judge you for it, or wants to do those things with you.
Man, you're a fun guy, man. That's why I was attracted to you. I was like, I think we're both young kids at heart, and yeah, it's super important to find somebody that aligns with those values of fun and freedom. Some people are very serious and they don't want that, but I mean that's such a cool story, and you weren't murdered. That's huge. The guy didn't drag you out and kill you in the middle of the lake. You got
He did make the joke. He did make the
Okay.
joke while we were out there. Like, yeah, it'd be weird if I killed you right now, huh? And I was like, okay, I kind of want to kill you. He's like, he was smoking weed at the time. He's like, well, let me finish the bowl first. And I was like, oh no. He's not standing by my boundaries.
Yeah. Maybe he was like trying to fill you out. He's like, okay, if he reacts like this, I'll kill him. But he reacted like, okay, so I'll let him live. He hands you the bowl. He's like, all right, man, you want a final hit? And you're just like, wait, what?
A final hit?
Oh man. I look at now we're laughing about that here. So
yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, dude. My girlfriend was like freaking out about the whole thing, but it is what it is. Rudoku, I swear to God, I wouldn't say I'm trouble, but other people would say I'm trouble. I don't get in trouble, but I do things and I just have so much fun in life. Like I treat life as a playground, but in a way that's never disrespectful to others. And that's why I'm able to do a lot of different things. Like, I think back to like multiple times that I've gone to certain DJ shows and then I end up behind stage with them, like overlooking the entire crowd. And it's like, what the heck is going on? Like, and like, I'll have my friends out in the crowd seeing me up there, like partying with the DJ. Like, what is going on right now? And then I'll come back and like, dude, what are you doing? And it's like, I don't know. I wanted to see what it looked like. And so I just talked to people. I don't know.
Fucking around, bro.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Dude, that's so awesome, man. And like, I mean, I'm happy I have met you, and you've kind of shared with me over this last few months that you do that, because it's really helped me open up a little bit too. Because I've been a very closed off person, like, self, like, you can't be seen like that. And when I was in Poland, I'm just like, yeah, dude, fuck, I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And
Yeah.
yeah, let's just have some
Often, as you said, often just asking is enough. That's the truth.
fun. Is enough. Also, funny thing, my dad's name is Ralph, so um, a little more synchronicity there for the day. But
Mm.
yeah, he's not Italian. Anyway, side note, yeah, guys, having fun, finding people in your life. This goes for friends too, and then also, like, know too, like, if you can work on your fun skills and being more open and stuff, it's gonna help on dates too. Women want a guy that's gonna take them on an adventure, even if they don't always want to participate. We were in Poland. There was these guys skateboarding. I'm just like, yo, can we try it out? Taught her how to skateboard a little bit, and it was like, we were intimate, obviously touching her so she didn't fall over, and it was just like, and you could tell, like, she's like, what the fuck is happening? But that spike of emotions is what gets them hooked. Like, they like that. They don't, people are like, oh, she's like freaked out. It's way better than being the boring guy talking about, your job, or what, your family or stuff like that. Like, save that for down the line. But on those first few dates, yeah, if you can go on an adventure, have fun in the process, she's gonna vibe off that energy and just like you even more. So it's
Yeah.
good for dating.
No, I love that. I love that. Even just those small things. You make an adventure out of nothing essentially.
Yeah.
You see an opportunity, and that maybe that's why it's good that I've got pretty aggressive ADHD, because I see an adventure and I go for it, and I see an adventure that most people don't even see, and I'm like, oh, this will be amazing. Let's go do this.
What is that meme, like, squirrel?
Yeah, I am like a squirrel
You're like a
almost.
squirrel. Yeah.
It's like,
Uh,
why not? I want to
yes.
see as much as I can while I can see it.
Squirrels are great animals. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
nice. It's fantastic.
awesome. So let's hit the last two here. So, um, I would say we're going to do it in reverse order. So not needy or clingy. This comes back to kind of what we were talking about, like having their own like group of friends, their own support group. Um, there's nothing worse than that. So like when I think of previous relationships I've had where it's like they're texting me every 5 minutes or every couple minutes, and if I'm not responding within 15 minutes, it's a problem. What's going on? It's it's unbelievable. Um, so that's definitely something to pay attention to, because as I was saying before, you need to be two independent people coming together to create an even stronger, force together than having to seek fulfillment out of that other person.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, man. Yo, there's times where you leave me on red where I just can't stand it. I'm just kidding. Actually, I have learned having awareness is key too, because sometimes if I get left on red, I know what I said probably wasn't that important, or they're busy. So it's a good self-awareness thing
Mhm.
too. Side note, going back to what you said, yeah, man. Um, it's funny because used to be the guy that was needy. I'm sure many of you guys can relate, right? Being that guy that's just pining over the girl. That was me for most of my life. And I always thought that once I got a girl that was needy as well, it would be so nice because I would get to experience the constant love and adoration. And a while ago I did have that, and it became exhausting. And it was such an important lesson because I saw, oh, this is what all the girls thought of Joel when he was hitting them up all the time to hang. It's like I was just like, ah. So it was a it was a huge wake up, and it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. Neediness is very unpleasant when you're
Yeah,
experiencing.
no, 100%. And that's one of the things is I was deep in the weeds in a relationship where she was extremely needy. And I actually found that I got so used to it that then when I was going to other relationships, I was actually starting to adopt her behavior because I
Whoa,
was so used to it. And that's what's really dangerous about it. And to understand that everybody has their own life, and you shouldn't be trying to force. It's not all about you. It's about you guys. It's about the two of you together.
and when you're with couples, the other couple too. Like, God, have you ever been on a double date where like the date's girl is just like a needy and whining? You're just like, you look at the guy and you're just like, bro. Like,
I've
I
been on too
feel for you,
many, dude. I've been on too many double dates or too many larger group dates where I'm just like, that guy's a simp. Like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this shit? And it's just, I'm at the point now, like, I used to care enough to say something, but I'm at the point now where it's like, it's just not worth it. And
bro.
it's just kind of like, you just kind of look at it, you cringe a little bit. And, my girl sees it too. And we just kind of joke about it later. But it's like, you can't save everybody. Some people are just kind of, I don't know. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, if they're a really close friend and you think you have some advice that could help them, ask them if they're open to hearing it, or
Yes.
wait. Yep. Or wait until they ask you, like, yo, man, like, why are you and your girl so chill together? Like, perfect opening, right? But if they're just doing their thing, pleasing the woman the best they can, yeah, just hands off. Yeah.
All right, Radoku. I've been in situations like this before, and I know you're joking, but you're also kind of not joking. Yeah.
Such a Vegeta move, dude. Just
But
yeah, girl.
D'Angelo, I like this question here. Do you guys believe that culture could play a role into who's the adoree and the adored? Um, I think so, 100%. I think that we turn women into the prize specifically based on how media and culture puts it. But it doesn't necessarily. I don't know, Joel. Let me let you talk on this for a second while I formulate my exact thoughts because I want to say this the exact way that hits.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's a fantastic question, D'Angelo. It is something I've always believed to be not true. And then this last year, I saw that it became very true. If you're in the West, I don't know where you're from. If you want to comment down below where you're from, I know in the West right now, it's very women are seeking careers. They're very driven towards towards work, towards getting degrees and stuff. And you just see the dynamic starting to shift where um, women are hypergamous, so they're always going to be looking either across or up. So a lot of these girls are making bank and doing pretty well for themselves, and so they want a guy on equal or higher level. So what's great about going to different cultures and experience this, so when I was in Poland, completely different culture, right? And it was different cultures from all around the world that are a little more traditional and conservative. So people from Italy, Spain, like all these great countries, South Africa. And there's such a different dynamic that when they go and talk to women, it's just implied immediately that they're a man, she's a woman. And that dynamic is created immediately. There's no like feeling each other out, like, are we equal? Like, how can I be superior than this guy? It's like, which a lot of Western girls unfortunately do. But it was perfectly like, just you go up, and if you're not the man in that situation, she just loses interest right away and then goes finds a guy that is that man. So it was a huge wake up for me. It taught me a lot about masculinity. Long-winded answer to your question. I think, yeah, absolutely. Culture plays a huge role in who becomes adder, blah, 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 that other word. And yeah, have you formulated your thoughts yet around
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I think culture is a huge piece of it because we talk about it like what's forced down our throats with media and everything in the United States, at least, because that's where I'm from. Is that essentially um, it's like milady, I got to court milady, but then if she doesn't act like a lady, like it doesn't make any sense in the brain because you're trying to treat them a certain way, but if you treat them that way, then they're not as attracted to you as they are to the bad boy. So I think culture has a huge piece in it, because right now, dude, I don't even know what we're doing with our culture because media pushes an agenda. I know that sounds like crazy conspiracy, but like let's be honest. When we look at these types of things, we're seeing less of those pure masculine films that like guys love, and we do have some of those feminine films as well. But when you look at like the top masculine film in the past few years, that was Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick. Like that was awesome and it outperformed everything else out there. And then you look at the top performing female film and that's Barbie. And in Barbie they're like bagging on the patriarchy. So it's like what are we trying to do? How are we trying to shape things? And that's why I think that like culture is trying to think about how to phrase this right. Like culture is defined by, I mean, yeah, it is partially defined by the media and different things that we put out into the world. So the culture of the US right now is very confusing for everybody because it's sending multiple different messages. And it's like, you know what? I got a question for you. We're going to pull this back for a second. I got a question for you because I randomly came up with this the other night and I was diving so deep into it and I couldn't understand it. When we think toxic masculinity, right? Toxic masculinity, it's like being overly aggressive, overly selfish, overly self, like I don't, whatever the hell they want to define it as. Well, if we're going to use the term toxic masculinity, Joel, let me ask you, what is toxic femininity?
Hmm, that's a good question. I think there's some parallels to toxic masculinity and selfishness, right? So you see this a lot. Girls will act sweet, they will act kind, they will act girly, but when they get into the weeds of the relationship, they basically want to take on the role of the man, but they want all the accolade, they want all the perks of being a lovely lady.
No, no, that can't be because it has to be the opposite. So if toxic masculinity is being too masculine, wouldn't toxic femininity being too feminine? Right?
Too feminine. I'm gonna let
It
you.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why I'm asking the question because to me toxic masculinity makes zero sense whatsoever and it's defined as being too masculine. So then you're saying that toxic femininity would be too feminine, not standing up for yourself, not expressing your emotions,
Actually, well, yeah, yeah, right. That
right?
sounds right.
Wouldn't it be?
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't talk about any of this stuff. You see, all right, this is American culture coming out through my brain right now because it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's almost like they're trying to drive us apart. So, D'Angelo, I love this question, and I think we're going to do an entirely separate show on this entire topic and different cultures throughout the world on the masculine, feminine, and kind of how things shape. Because I love the topic and I find it so interesting.
Dude, 100%. Yeah. D'Angelo, if you even want to come on for that too, let us know. Be happy to have you on and chat about it. That's a yeah, it's so interesting. I like what you said about like maybe they're trying to divide us. A theme I have noticed, so I'm back in Wisconsin here, where it's very progressive, very liberal. So there's a lot of toxic femininity, a lot of when I see a woman that I see as a non-healthy woman, I see she's very passive aggressive. She doesn't know how to express her emotions.
That's exactly what Verdoku is saying here.
Okay,
Toxic,
nice.
yeah, toxic masculinity is pointing out the ugly nature of masculinity in certain contexts, while ignoring the context where the same trait is positive. And so, yeah, toxic femininity would be the same.
Yeah, man. And it's tough here. Like this has been a spiritual lesson because I just came from a country where, feminine women are everywhere. They're sweet. They're healthy and stuff. And I'm going to be going, and this isn't a complaint because I'm going to Mexico City in a little bit here to get a little bit of that back. But here, yeah, it's a great spiritual practice because the chicks, they're not healthy. They're not happy. They're kind of, they're mean in a sense, and they try to run the show, and they're not good at it. That's the thing. They're not like it's not like they're crushing it. They're just
It goes back. It goes back to what I hear women say over and over and over again. Well, I'll be feminine for the right man. It's like, all right, I'll be masculine for the right woman. But like, I do kind of love
that's
Myron's
funny.
example on it because it's a hyperbole, but it's funny. Where it's like, all right, well, I like to wear heels or on Sundays, like so, but I'll be masculine for the right woman.
Right. When she
It's like
comes
pick and
along.
choose.
And now there is something like where they get it wrong too is they don't understand in that attitude and that mindset, they're not going to attract the right guy in the first place or vice versa. A feminine guy ain't going to attract. Okay, I'm just going to show my um just for context. I am in my sister's room right now and it's purple. So
What are you doing in your sister's room?
Toxic masculinity, bro. So yeah, I just had to point that out because it is ironic that we're having this conversation in a very feminine environment. But hey, we're owning it.
Mm-hmm.
Lost my point, but what you said, yes, 100%. Whatever you just said.
Yeah, what I said essentially, it's like, all right, yeah, I am more than happy to be feminine, but I'll be feminine with the right man. Well, it's like, well, if you're being out there and you're expressing yourself in the masculine most of the time, you're not going to attract, or you're not going to attract the right man who is looking for a feminine woman, because
Yeah.
he's not seeing you as feminine. Because if I see a group of girls and there's one girl that's like the boss bitch of the group and she's all aggressive with other people, I don't know that you can be feminine, because all I'm seeing from the outside, I'm not going to approach you because all I'm seeing is a very aggressive masculine woman.
Yeah.
But I should just know, right? Like I should just know that you're gonna you can be in your feminine if I like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't, it logically doesn't make sense. And there's no conspiracies here. It's just kind of what gets clicks nowadays, and that's why I think that culture, at least in America, has gone that way. Because when you're pushing out stuff that kind of pushes the envelope, it's going to get more views, it's going to get more discussion, it's going to be more successful. But then if we have that division between the sexes, it's just doesn't go in the right direction. And I'm so happy that you saw what it truly means to be traditionally masculine and feminine in Poland. You're going to see the same thing when you go down to Mexico City. It can still be found in America, guys. There's no doom and gloom here. Trust me. Everybody who's met my girl, and we've talked about her too, Joel. Like, she is exactly what everybody is essentially looking for. So it can be found. It's just more difficult at times.
Right. Right. That's a good point. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not black or white. There's definitely feminine women in the US for sure. They might be a little more few and far between, and you might have to look a little harder, but they're there. And I mean, I've dated them for sure. There've been tests too, because if, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm Mr. Masculine. Like, it's something I'm gonna be working on for a very long time. I grew up very feminine, very coddled, very USA, you could say. So I mean, this is why I like talking about this stuff, because it's something I'm going through now. And yeah, when you see that, you can't unsee it. That's the red pill right there, is when you see true femininity and true masculinity, you can't go back. And then you see the US form of it, and you're just like, ooh, this sucks. Like,
Yeah,
I'll pass. Hard pass. I think that's
it
why
is
a lot of
crazy.
it's crazy. And there's some subtle ways too that it's showing up too, not just so much overtly, like when you have that chick that's just like running around like bah, 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 bah. There's an attitude that very masculine women will hold themselves. It's almost like it's prideful. And I'm still learning about this one. But in the first few seconds you talk to them, you can tell kind of where they stand on it. And anyway, we'll talk about that in the next one, because I gotta flesh out those ideas a little more too. And it's something
Mhm.
I'm picking up on, because she could be the sexiest girl, right? She might be wearing all the clothes, she might be in Lululemon, and she looks just like a smoke show. But I mean, look at her Instagram too. She posting pictures of herself in bikinis all over. Big red flag there. How does she, like? Is the guy she with like in the center of or is it like, it's her is the focus and he's just kind of like to the side, right?
You have to scroll 40 pages down until you finally find a picture of him.
And he's like, maybe not, he's just like, hi. He's like honored to be in the picture. He's like, finally, I get a picture with her. So no, hey, if you're out there and that's you, man, no hard feelings, but there's just other subtle ways to tell that if a chick's masculine or feminine, which we'll talk about in another show.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a great show. We're coming up on an hour here. I definitely want to. We're doing that show, and I think we should do it next week, because this
Cool.
is such a deep discussion that I've had with so many different people, especially when you're talking about doing the double dates and things like that. Oh man, that's so many examples that I need to jot them all down and then bring them forward of when I've seen this, and it's interesting, dude. One of the main ones I want to talk about. I'll just give like a brief synopsis of it here. This girl, huge and unattractive. Doesn't clean her apartment. Place is a mess. She's got 2 dogs. It is just a crap heap. And she was dating a multimillionaire. This guy owns over $3 million. And she broke up with him because I don't know. I guess he wasn't exciting enough. And she would just boss him around. Like I'd be hanging around him, or hanging around with them, and she would just like bully him, abuse him, make fun of him, demasculate him in front of everybody. And then he never broke up with her. She inevitably broke up with him. And
Wow.
then now she's all upset. She's got like maybe like 6 new tattoos since the breakup. And she's just like kind of gone off the rails even further. But like you had it all. Like what are you actually looking for? And now she's alone and now he's happy and now she's upset that he has a new girlfriend. Like
Tale as old as time.
like what are we doing here? It's just nonsense.
And what I think that is that she wants masculinity. And like that's just the point. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million or the girl's fat or broke. A girl wants a masculine guy. And if the guy cannot provide that masculinity, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how many 6-packs you have, you'll be put to the wayside before you can snap your fingers. So
Exactly. And that was his issue, is that he could not be masculine. He didn't have it in him. So it just didn't, maybe she again, it's like she won the lottery, and like having a subservient like guy who had it all. She won the lottery, but she didn't want the lottery. She didn't want the lottery. She
yeah.
wanted a masculine guy, and
Mm.
she cares. And there's a reason why uh, the natural feminine energy cares more about the natural masculine energy, than they do about, like, you can be a Chad with no money in the bank, or you're jumping in between jobs or whatever else. As long as the natural masculine energy is there, that's what's found most attractive.
Which is huge for guys, bro. We got a big win there. Yeah, you see the guy with the smoke show, and he's just like, you could tell he hasn't worked out in like 4 years, and he's wearing a baggy t-shirt and like, just white socks up to his mid calf. But the way but he's walking with that, just like, you're just like, damn, this guy's kind of got it together, even though he doesn't fit the mold of a Chad guy. And then you see the verse where you got this super good looking guy. He's got the chiseled jaw. He's got the flow. Kind of looks like Huds, and he's and he's walking behind. Look at that jawline. And he's walking behind his girl as she's ordering him to pick groceries to put in the cart. And you're just like, something doesn't seem right here. And you can tell that she's into him because of his looks. So she's the masculine one there. You can tell
Mhm.
a masculine girl by if they really are attracted to a guy. If the first thing they go to is a guy's looks and they put that above everything else, then you know she's masculine, because that's a masculine quality to value looks. So that is something, like, of course you want the girl to be attractive, but if the guy is like super feminine, but she just loves him because he's so hot, right? And she shows him off to
Mhm.
her friends and bragging about him. But when you actually like get into the nuts and bolts of the relationship, now this is just one example too. So I know we could do
Yeah,
that
and
for
I
hours.
actually, I'm actually going to push back on you on that topic, but we're going to park it for the next show.
Oh
Okay?
man.
Because
We
I,
got
I
our work done.
really want to push back on you heavy on
Okay.
that
Okay.
specific point. But before we go ahead and plug what you're doing. Go ahead and throw the consult link that you have again.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, guys, invite you to follow Sobriety University for more addiction recovery related content. Marijuana is a big focus, but we focus on other things like relationships, weed, porn, alcohol, anything that you might be struggling with as a vice. I do have sober living coaching where we meet together once a week and kind of help you get over your addiction or whatever vice you're working on. You can book a consult down below, and we'll hop on a call for like 45 minutes. I can get to know you a bit, and we can see if I can be of help to you in any way. I know for me that having mentors, coaches, people to kind of work through things with has been very helpful. I still make sure I have somebody in that field in every area of my life today, because I'm wise enough to know that I don't know everything. And bro, the amount of probably years I've saved off my life just by having someone tell me, don't do this and this. And you'll save 10 to 15 years. It's been just like such a blessing. So yes, again, hit us up, hit me up down below if you want to book a consult, follow the channel. D'Angelo, if you do want to come on next week to have a talk about this, shoot Huds a DM on his IG, which you can find that way. And yeah, we'd love to meet you and have you on. Other than that, yeah, we'll pass on to you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, D'Angelo, if you want to hit me up, we'll get it organized, get it set up, and that would be awesome. You don't have to, of course. It's just the opportunity is open. I know we had Rodoku on before, and there was a great discussion. We'd love to be engaged with the audience. And speaking of being engaged with the audience, if you guys have specific topics you want to talk about, definitely drop it in the comments below. And then, as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Like we only build if we build together. And I love having these conversations. I love bringing other people on and just giving the information, the best information we can, to as many people as possible. And then, as always, if you want dating coaching or you had any questions, same thing. Just go ahead and hit me up right there on IG. I'm happy to respond, even if I don't get back to you right away, because I've been getting a ton of different people reaching out to me. But I'll definitely get back to you, and we can even figure out a time to set up a call, and we'll get anything sorted that you may need. But that's really all I got. So I'm looking forward to next week's show. It's going to be a really good one.
You left me on a cliffhanger, man. Now I'm like, fuck, let's get to next week, dude. So
yeah, I am leaving you on a cliffhanger. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Peace out.
Peace.